Welcome back, everybody. I'm Robert Rodriguez, and you're watching The California Hunter. We're getting ready to come into July. I'm getting really excited about an upcoming fishing trip to Alaska. It's going to be great. But let's get into why we're here. We're here to share with you 10 things that you're going to need to go on your first hunt. Trying to help you guys out if you're looking to go hunting or just want to explore or want to see what it's going to take to kind of get things going. I want to give you the 10 things that I feel that you're going to need in order to get a good, reasonable hunt put together. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing is a hunter safety class. In order to get a hunter's license in every state, you have to have some type of hunter's education. There is a requirement for it. So look it up in your specific state, see what the requirements are. In California, regardless of age, all first-time hunters must complete a hunter education safety class before you can buy a hunting license. If you're coming from another state to hunt here in California, bring your valid hunter's license. And if you have taken the hunter education, if it was required, bring proof of that with you so you can buy a hunting license in California. On a side note, if you're going to be doing any type of archery hunting, you must look up the local regulations. There are certain states that require bow hunter or proficiency courses to bow hunt. So the second thing you're going to need is your actual hunting license. You can obtain those on your local Fish and Game website. You can go to a local Fish and Game office that offers that service at the office. You can even go to most of your sports warehouse type places, pick up your hunting license. Again, you'll need to bring that hunter safety certificate showing that you've passed the class with you to buy that hunting license. The third thing you're going to need is a special game tag or special permits. So this will be dependent on what you're trying to hunt and where you're hunting. Depending on location, sometimes specific game requires a special permit based on location. In other instances, specific game, regardless of location, requires a special permit. So for instance, in California, in order to hunt deer, you have to have a tag for a deer, and that tag is associated to a zone or area within the state. So if you're hunting in one area, you'll have to have a specific tag for that area to hunt deer. So the fourth thing is a weapon for the hunt and possibly for self-protection. So specifically here in California, if you're gonna bow hunt, you are not allowed to carry a firearm, okay? So please follow your local regulations. If you're not hunting here in California, make sure you look up what you're allowed to do. If you're gonna be rifle hunting, you can carry both a rifle and a pistol for protection. Obviously, that is going to be up to you. If you're hunting bears or if you're in bear country, probably a good idea to have a secondary weapon. If you're going to be using a rifle for your hunt, think about caliber, basically the size of the bullet, and think about what you can shoot well. The other thing we have to consider is what you're going to be trying to harvest. If you're harvesting rabbits, you can use a very small rifle, very small caliber. If you're going to be harvesting deer or elk, you're probably going to have to step that up quite a bit. So keep an eye on what it is that you're hunting and what caliber you think is going to work good. Other hunters can help. And we're going to go over some details in the later video that can help you with that. But we want to make sure that you're proficient with whatever you bring. So if you are bringing a pistol out as a secondary weapon, you should be able to shoot and handle and fix in the field things that happen with that weapon. And the same goes for your rifle. You should be able to shoot, handle that weapon, and know how to use it and be proficient using it before you come out into the field. So the fifth thing is your hunting area. You obviously have to select the hunting area that you want to hunt. You can use a lot of different tools on Fish and Game's website that can help you kind of target the area you want to go for based on the type of animal you're trying to take. You always want to make sure you have a backup map. Apps are great, phones are great, OnX is great, I use it, but a physical map is always a good backup to have, and it's something that I highly recommend that you get. U.S. Forestry Service carries tons of maps. You can find maps on Barnes & Noble, physical folded up maps, something you can stick in your pack or even your back pocket if you need to. So definitely something I recommend. Number 6, the area and appropriate gear for the weather. So take into consideration where you're hunting, what the weather is going to be like at the time you're hunting, and then the type of gear you need to have with you. Obviously layers, warmth, wet, all those types of things are things you need to be aware of that are possibilities or are going to happen on your hunt. So you need to prepare for those things. Number 7, safety gear. It wasn't as high as it should be. Should it be ranked at number 7? It's actually very, very high. Safety gear is very important. It's the most important thing you take on your hunt with you. Having a tourniquet, a first aid kit. If you're hunting remotely or somewhere there's no cell service, GPS, SOS responder, or anything like that are very, very affordable and bring a level of safety unlike anything else. If you're in an area that has no cell service, you can use that to communicate with people, and you can even use an SOS feature. I personally use a Garmin. It's great, and it keeps me in touch with people when I'm off the grid completely. I still have the ability to communicate via text to let people know I'm safe. Every time I text them, I can set it up so it drops a pin and gives them my GPS location anywhere in the world at that moment that I set that message. So if that was the last time I contacted them and maybe a day or two has gone by, if they feel that they need to contact somebody to come rescue me, they can say the last time I talked to him, this is exactly where he was at. So for the money, it is the best thing you can have for your safety. And again, like I said, tourniquets, safety kits, things like that, because accidents do happen. The 8th thing, game prep and equipment. We have to plan for that. If we're gonna go and get a deer or a pig or an elk, something, especially if it's sizable, we need to plan on how we're gonna transport that animal out of the field. In some instances, like in California, if we take a deer, you are not allowed to dismember that deer in the field. You have to take that deer and have it signed off before you completely dismantle it. So that means you are going to be taking that deer out of the field pretty much complete. You're going to gut it, get the innards out and stuff like that. But that deer needs to move complete from wherever you get it back to your vehicle so you can transport it for sign off. You need to think about that. Are you going to drag this deer? Are you going to put it on something? Are you going to backpack it? All those things need to be thought about before you get into the field. Maybe have a friend ready, someone that you can call, so when that animal's down, they can make it over to you in the next couple hours and help you out. That's always a great way to go. Or if you're hunting with a friend, even better, they can help you right there at the spot. Number 9, we kind of talked about it already, the closeout or sign off of an animal. Depending on what animal you're taking, again, depending on the state's regulations, certain things have to be signed off by Fish and Game or by somebody in order to complete your tag and hunting process. So make sure that you're aware of what you're taking and what the requirements are for your state. In the state of California, we have to have our deer tag signed off by either a postal worker, someone at a fire department, police officer, or a Fish and Game officer. Any one of those can sign off your deer tag. And basically what they're doing is they're making sure that you're killing a deer that's old enough and is the proper tag or the proper sex for that tag. So if you're only buck only and it has to be a split fork, they're going to verify that. They'll sign that off, and then you send that into Fish and Game to finish off the tag process. So number 10, meat preparation. Once you get this animal back home, once it's been signed off, we're going to obviously have to skin it, take it apart, or you're going to take it to somebody to do that for you. These are things that you need to plan for ahead of time, okay? If you get an elk and you're not able to process all that meat in your house on your own, which most of us can't, you're going to make sure that you have to have some type of a butcher or somebody that takes wild game specifically. So these are calls and plans that you have to make before you take that animal. So make sure that you do that. In my area, there's a couple of places that have the ability to process wild game, but they may require that you quarter it. They may require that you skin it. They may require that there's no hooves on it. So all those things are things that you need to know beforehand, because you don't want to take this animal and then allow it to spoil. That is the worst possible thing you can do. So for instance, 2 years ago, I was able to take an elk in Central California, did most of the processing as far as skinning and removing things up in the area that I'd gotten that animal. I brought it back down to Southern California where I live and had taken it to a local meat processor to have it processed that processes wild game. Well, unfortunately, that meat processor kind of left me hanging. I had called up a few weeks before I left. They said, yeah, no problem. The day I showed up, they didn't have room for my wild game. That game has to be separate from all the regular meat that they're buying. And so they weren't allowed to bring it in because their wild game area was already full. So I then had to do the homework and footwork to get this elk to a processor that could do it. I had to keep it on ice for a couple of days. Was finally able to find a butcher in Riverside that was able to take that elk, quarter it, and basically process the meat. Maybe some ground, some carne asada, cut it into roasts and steaks. But these are things that I wasn't prepared to do on my own, and I had lined up somebody to do it, and unfortunately it kind of got left hanging at the last minute. But it all worked out. So make sure that you have those plans and ideas in not just set up, but actually lined up with the people that you're planning on taking this animal to. Make sure you either have an appointment or they know where you're going to be bringing that animal in, so that way they're prepared as well. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. So that's the top 10 things I think you're going to need on your first hunt. We together are going to deep dive into some of those and go over some links, how to, and walk you through the process. Watch another video, and remember, anyone can hunt. We'll see you on the next one.